So Donald Trump cannot figure out how to combat Kamala Harris. This entire time, he thought he was going to be going up against Joe Biden. He thought all he had to do was make fun of his stutter, make fun of his age, just double down on all that rhetoric, and he thought that would get him over the finish line come November. He got through a curveball. He's completely off his game. So what does he do? He digs into his bag of tricks and he tells MAGA that this whole thing, all this excitement around Kamala Harris, it's all just manufactured. It's all just one big psyop, and they're actually buying into this stuff. They believe it. They believe that all this energy that we're seeing right now around Kamala Harris is because it's all manufactured. Meanwhile, they believe that 1 billion people tuned in on Twitter to see him and Elon Musk. They think him and Elon Musk broke the internet. Oh, Trump broke the internet. And here's what's going to happen. Come November, when they lose, they're going to stand up and go, how could we have lost? 1 billion people tuned in on Twitter to see us. And we're going to just play this video back and remind them that they told you that to get you all excited and worked up over something that wasn't true and wasn't real, because anything they project onto us is exactly what they're doing. So they manufactured all this chaos and they manufactured all of this hype around Donald Trump that's not true, because the American people are sick and tired of seeing his same old tired act. It's the same old dog and pony show that it's been ever since he came down the escalator, and the American people are getting tired of it. So much so that now we have Republicans for Harris out there that are campaigning and saying, we can't get behind this guy any longer. We can't ride this horse any longer. And Nikki Haley, who I know what you're going to say, she's flip-flopped more than anyone in history, went back and forth, but she realizes that Trump's about to lose. Check this out.
Do you think that this campaign is floundering on that point?
I want this campaign to win. But the campaign is not going to win talking about crowd sizes. It's not going to win talking about what race Kamala Harris is. It's not going to win talking about whether she's dumb. It's not. You can't win on those things. The American people are smart. Treat them like they're smart.
Do you
See, she realizes he's about to lose, but where I would call her out on this is Donald Trump has never talked to the American people like they're smart. He's always talked down to them. He's always used fear and propaganda to get them worked up voting against their own interest and voting for him and praising him. He does not talk to the American people like they're smart at all. If anyone has ever talked down to the American people, it's Donald Trump with his doom and gloom, and we're a third world country and we're nobody without him. We're not smart enough to make it without him, according to Trump. According to him, he's the only one that can lead us. But let's just say something that we don't say enough. Donald Trump is a stupid politician. Okay, he truly is. Now, I know some people say, well, he made it to the White House. Yeah, he made it to the White House, but he did not win the popular vote to get there. And when he got in, he was such a lost ball in high weeds, didn't have a clue what he was doing. The very people that hired him said it was complete chaos, that he didn't know how the system worked. He thought he could run it like a game show, and it don't work that way. He got all tripped up, and he got voted out. He may have been able to convince the flock that none of that was real, but it's the truth. It's the real world. He got voted out because the American people was sick of him in 2020, and they're even more sick of him now. So you would think that he would be smart enough to come back with a different attitude, a new approach. But instead, what does he do? He just doubles down on the same exact rhetoric, even harder. Now he's got this new opponent. And instead of finding a way to combat that, instead of talking about the issues at hand, he starts attacking her race. People are so sick of the racism. They're so sick of the bigotry. They're so sick of all of the comments that he's made over the years and all the catchphrases he's came up with. The American people are tired of that. He doubles down on it, though. He just digs in his heels and doubles down. They're so sick and tired of all the misogyny that they've seen. And it's not 2016 anymore, folks. Back then, yeah, some people could write it off that, well, it was just locker room talk. It's not locker room talk anymore. Now, Donald Trump has been found liable. He's a convicted felon who has been found liable of sexual abuse, and we watched him defame the victim after the fact. So he can't stand up there and run on the locker room talk thing anymore. And you would think that a guy like that in his scenario, in his situation, would be smarter than that and wouldn't double down on the misogyny. wouldn't double down on defaming people, but he cannot help himself. And I don't care how you slice it, it's just plain stupid. For those of us who actually have followed politics and understands that it doesn't operate the way that Celebrity Apprentice operates, we look at it, and I sometimes feel like I need to be his advisor because he's dropping the ball so bad that it's like, dude, you're going to have to pump the brakes on this. This isn't going to work. This isn't 2016. You're in 2024 now. I have seen politicians in my lifetime evolve. I have seen people evolve over time. Donald Trump hasn't. He has stayed right there in the same lane, doing the same act over and over and over again, and he thinks it's going to work. He thinks that doubling down on his racism is going to work. It's not. He thinks doubling down on his misogyny is going to work. It's not. He thinks talking down to people is going to work and spreading fear and propaganda and doom and gloom is going to work, and it's not. That's why Harrison Walls is surging right now. That's why the energy is there, like Barack Obama level 2008 energy. The reason it's there is because we're so sick and tired of his act. So for those who's like, but how can you really call him stupid? Well, here's how I can call him stupid. He needs moderates and independents to win this race. He's not doing anything to appeal to them. Nothing he is saying is appealing to them. He also could use some Democrats jumping ship. But do you see Democrats for Trump? No, you're seeing Republicans for Harris because they're tired of his act. So if he really knew how the system worked, he would be a lot better at playing it, but he's not. Folks, he's not. And then they sit back and wonder how he could lose. Well, because in the real world, we see his stupid moves. We realize he doesn't know how to play the game, and he's talking down to his voters, and he thinks they're stupid enough to buy it, and I'm sorry, but a lot of them are. They're stupid enough to believe that 1 billion people tuned in on Twitter, and they think that that story means that everybody's going to show up to the polls to vote for him. And when they don't, they're going to scream out loud that the whole thing was rigged. But if he was so smart and understood the system as good as he says he did, he wouldn't have got voted out to start with. If he was such an expert like he claims to be, he would have been able to handle COVID no problem. But instead, he completely bungled it. If he knew how the system worked, he would still be president today, and we would be having 2 candidates right now that we were looking at to see who was going to be next. And if he had done a really good job, there would have been so much excitement around him and his ideas that the Republicans would have a candidate up there that we'd all be going, oh man, we might have 4 more years of Republicans. But we're not getting any of that because of his stupidity and his inability to adapt and him not knowing how to figure out the system. This is a guy who sits down, they put him in front of a live microphone, and he buries himself. And suddenly, he's being sued over the interview with Elon Musk. The union workers are suing him because he bragged about firing people. That was a stupid move. He sat there and talked about how he was going to go to Venezuela if he lost. Now they're talking about taking away his passport. It's a stupid move. This guy has walked outside courtrooms time and time again, and we've sat here baffled at his stupidity. But when we point it out, we get called commies, we get called libtards, we get called all kinds of names. Well, go ahead. I guess just keep doing it because we're winning. And as long as he keeps going down that path, he's going to keep losing. And you guys are going to keep losing right along with him. Meanwhile, thinking that we were all out to get you. No, the one that was out to get you was Trump. And he got you. He wrapped you around his little finger. He knows he's got you. He knows he can say anything. That's why he gets so excited to get in front of the mic. He knows you're the only ones out there that will sit and entertain this battery and shark bullshit. He knows you're the only ones that will entertain all of his ridiculous stories about Hannibal Lecter and all the other crazy talking points that this man hits on. You're going to be right back in the same boat. They're already sowing the seeds, just like they did in 2020. I can only lose if it's rigged. He's already saying that again because he knows he's losing. When you see him running back to Twitter, when you see him stopping campaigning, and he's just going to try to lay back on he's losing and he knows it. And he's never talked to his followers like they were smart, because the rest of us that understands the system and how it works, we're like, did he really say that? Anybody dumb enough to believe it? And then there's the crowd of people believing it. So we don't say it enough, but Trump is not a good politician at all. He's a good grifter. He's a good cult of personality. For whatever reason, he does have a stage presence with these people, and he can work a crowd, he can work an audience. But when it comes right down to it, he does not know how to govern, and he does not know how to run for office. He is the complete and total lost ball in high weeds.